Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my shop. So today I just want to do a fairly short video, and basically what I want to do is I want to compare two MFT setups. All right, so flipping the camera around, right here I have the Festool MFT table. I've got some clamps in place. Of course, you've got your fence system. You've got your protractor back here. You've got a rail. You've got the track saw on top. And you can just kind of get a look at what the table looks like here. It's got like a 900 millimeter height. If I want to clamp something to the edge, I can simply slide the clamp in here and get that done. Just tighten it down to the table, just like that. Okay. Obviously, you've got your dog holes. If I want to use the clamps on the top of the table, I could just drop them in and clamp something to the table. As far as, you know, there's a bit of jiggle to the table when you wobble it or whatever. I do not have the stabilizing bars on this particular table. So, remove the track saw for a second. Right here, you've got the rail. You've got a little hose connector or like slide, if you will. I can lift the rail up, complements of the rail hinge. It stays attached to the table, right? So a lot of people, you know, will say that maybe this particular hinge system is not the most robust, especially if you compare it to the dashboard system. I wouldn't know. I don't have it. The dashboard system does look pretty good, but anyways, this actually functions. So you just drop it down. You've got that little tab right here that the rail drops into. And if you have squared up this portion, like say with a big square, triangle, or something like that, then you will be getting 90-degree cuts as you cut along the track or whatever. Now, this table surface is not super large. However, what you do have the ability to do with this setup is, you know, these grooves here give you the ability to, you can actually connect multiple MFT tables together. That's something that if finances permit, I want to do in the future, where I'll actually have multiple MFT tables connected together. I think I definitely want to get at least one more MFT3 so that I can you know, have two rail setups, and I can move and do one or the other, and it'll give me a longer fence for this particular setup. So anyway, so this is the MFT3. Now let's go over here. Let's look at the Dewalt setup. Yay! All right. So what we have here, right off the bat, this is obviously not a Dewalt clamp. I just have it here because Dewalt does make a clamp that's about that size. So right here we've got our MFT style table. It's plastic. You've got this push button here to fold it up. You've got these dog holes here, and you've got these slots as well to be able to, I guess, fasten things to the table. You don't have any kind of attachments to the side of the table. Well, is this? Yeah, you do have these dog holes here. Sorry, you do have attachments to the side. I didn't notice that before. But this is the table by itself. It's smaller than the MFT table, obviously. When you look at it, there is no rail hinge or any ability to be able to attach a rail to it. It is lighter than the Festool table that you can see over there. So it is lighter. But this particular setup here is, yeah, you can do some basic cuts here. If you add a rail square like this benchdogs.co.uk, it slides on like this, and then you just cantilever it in place. Benchdogs makes one of these for the Festool Makita, and I believe also the Milwaukee, but they actually have an upgraded one that can go with all the track saws. So that may be something you may be interested in looking at. So anyway, so this is your cut up. So you can get your squared cuts with this. using the rail square. Now, of course, Festool has their rail square too. So you can use this one, or you can use this one if you wanted to kind of try to function and do the same thing with this table that you would do with this table here. So as you can see here, you know, I mean, it's not the worst setup in the world. I mean, it is a workbench that you can utilize. However, once you make your cut, you're not going to be able to obviously lift up your rail and get it out of the way. That's not going to be happening. Now, let me see if I can set this up so you can see the setup for clamps. All right, pulling the table over a little bit more so you can see. So we have this clamp here, and you can take off the end like this, and that gives you the ability to stick it through the table to utilize if you want to clamp things down. However, you do have to remove it every time. There's no way for it to quick attach to the table. The other thing is it won't fit in any of these dog holes, so you can't do that. Now, if you do not need any kind of heavy clamping, you can use this kind of clamp, and or a smaller version of the Dewalt, and the head comes off as well, and you can put it through these dog holes to utilize it in this fashion if you wanted to. So that is something that you can do as far as being able to clamp. And then if I turn the table around so you can see, you can stick it through here and you can do some side clamping in this way. But this requires you all the time to have to move, you know, basically take it apart and refasten it on the other end. And even as I'm trying to do this, I'm having a problem. So for the side clamping, I don't know if it'll work because let me see if I can get this on here. All right, so I got it back on there, and the way, so if you look at how the clamp is fastened, the bottom part, I don't know if you can see that, this part right here, it's not appearing that it can fasten perpendicular to the clamp, or parallel. It doesn't seem to want to fasten like this because there's actually a grid up under here preventing it from going all the way up. If you can see, it has to go all the way down here like this. So I guess in theory you could clamp something to the side like this, but it's not going to stay in place, you know, because once you loosen the quick clamp, it's just going to drop to the floor. But if you want to use it through the hole and kind of leave the clamp in there like this, then you have to orient this portion in the downward motion. So I don't know, maybe you could clamp, well, I don't know if you would, why would you want to clamp it down? But anyways, that's not going to work out very well. So it's just a different setup, you know, by comparison. Let me just fix that around there. Two different types of systems. This is, you know, I've spoken a few times on my channel about, you know, one of the reasons why I went over to the Festool is because of the system approach. As you can see here, you have a track saw like Festool over there. You have a rail like Festool. You have a rail square like Festool. You have clamps like Festool, and you have an MFT bench like Festool, but you don't have the same level of integration of all the components. It can work, but it's just not the same. Now, by comparison, if you take a brand like Milwaukee, or if you take a brand like Makita, or any of those brands, you don't even have an option to have a branded workstation. You don't, you know, that's something like, if you wanted this level of functionality, you would have to, you know, with the other brands, then, you know, yes, you could go, you can get a dashboard, you can get a benchdogs.co.uk, but by comparison, when you compare like when this Festool MFT and stuff was made, you know, I think they were out before those other brands. You know, I can speak personally because when I first bought my Dewalt track saw, there was no parallel guides for it. There were no rail squares for it. So as a result, you know, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't a similar type of application. You know, the track saw did a lot of the same functions when you start talking about cutting, but repeatable cuts, when I first bought my Dewalt track saw, just wasn't something that I was able to do. So anyways, it's just a really short video, just kind of doing a quick comparison between the Festool MFT and the Dewalt setup that I have here. That, you know, like I said, you can make cuts on this station. You can, you know, do those things. It folds up and moves away, but it's not the same type of system. You would have to, if you wanted a fence on here, you'd have to make it, obviously. These are 3/4 inch holes. They're not 20 millimeters. So you cannot take this clamp and stick it in these holes. It's, if you look underneath, you can see that there's a degree of depth to these holes. And as you can see here, it just, because they're 3/4 of an inch and the depth of the hole, this clamp will not clear all the way through to go to the other side. What you would have to do is kind of shave off the plastic on the bottom so that it would go all the way through. $799 or $800 table versus a $69 table. There's no comparison. It's up to you as a consumer whether this solution would be best or this one. Unfortunately, when you go back, unfortunately right now, I don't even know where you can find the Dewalt track saw, but they're not super cheap anymore. I don't believe they're, you know, necessarily the cheapest track saw. So yeah, these are just different things to think about when you start talking about choosing a tool brand. And one of the reasons why, you know, you may have to consider being a multi-plat person. You know, if you want to go with Makita, you're not going to have a battery powered table saw if that's something that you want. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this short little video, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care.